Why are the Democrats not talking about this every day? Thank you. Great question. One that I'm asking myself as well. I think it's because they don't care and they like it. That's it. What else am I supposed to believe? What else am I supposed to believe? Also, to the one dumb fuck chatter that said, why didn't you ask that question to Bernie? I did. And also, Bernie does speak out on this, just not enough and not directionally. I want Bernie to mobilize around this beyond just tweeting about it. And it's not just Bernie. Bernie alone is not going to be able to do anything. There needs to be an entire coalition of conscious human beings that are just like aware of all of these atrocities that stand up and take action. I think, yeah, Bernie's only there to make left groups happy with Dems. Dude, I can't have this conversation with you guys. I'm sorry, okay? I don't have your same cynicism. I just don't. This is something that I've actively argued with chatters against for years and years and years at this point. I just don't care. If you think that, then that's great. I don't. And I also think that this is the entry point for my kind of politics into penetrating collective consciousness, penetrating the mainstream. So I'm not going to fucking cast that aside. And I'm not going to listen to any of you, so that's good, and that's precisely the reason why I'm not going to listen to any of you, just like I never listened to you when you were like, we can't allow microaggressions in this community when I had like 35 people watching, right? Because if I had listened to you guys, we'd have 36 people watching right now, not 35,000 people. So shut the fuck up, okay? And let me do my thing. If you don't agree with my methods, that's one thing. I'm not entertaining the whole like cynical, Hassan only is doing this for this or that reason beyond the reason that I'm stating. You want to know why? Because at no point, out of the many years that all of you have been fucking watching me, okay, at no point have I sheltered you from my perspective. I am openly and uncompromisingly honest, brutally honest, to a fault, brutally honest in emotional moments that actually get me into a lot of fucking trouble, as a matter of fact. So what makes you think that I have some other cynical reason for doing what I'm doing beyond what I'm telling you and why I'm doing what I'm doing? Is it impossible for you to comprehend? Is it something that you don't agree with? I don't know. Maybe it is. But then again, there is a disagreement on the methods at that point, not a disagreement on our opinions and our worldview, just a disagreement on the methods. If you think that's boundary breaking, if you think that's enough to separate yourself from someone like myself, then go off, kings, Go off. Yeah. At the very least, stop lowballing on questions when you're interviewing Bernie and AOC. Oh my God. Dude, you guys are fucking stupid. Okay? I cannot spell this out any further than I have thus far. You are an objectively stupid person if you think that, dude, me crashing out on this shit is also unironically going to cause so many of the dumb fucks to like literally make TikTok videos now. This is why I don't entertain it. Because it's otherwise just people fucking yelling at like the same 40-person Discord server. But when I bring this up and I talk about it, one, the libtards love this shit because they go, see, they're eating him alive. They're not, okay? I would rather have these fucking annoying chirpers than a dumb fuck who supports Israel doing a genocide, okay? every step of the day, every step of the way, every day of the week. Okay. I would much rather have annoying, sweaty, crusty, unwashed, anti-genocide protesters by my side yelling at me at every step of the fucking way as I carry them across the fucking finish line than one singular pro-genocide dipshit. So make no mistake on that front. But they love it. Just so you know, the fucking liberals love this shit because then they go, they're yelling at you. They're yelling at you as well. You're just like me. Yeah, you'll make it into an Ethan Klein Instagram post though. It'll be awesome. It'll be your moment in the spotlight, chatter. You'll get that recognition that you desperately wanted. Even the very fact that I entertain this shit makes it seem like I'm constantly in a defensive posture. And it gives the inclination to others from the outside that I'm like defending something, like because I got caught doing something wrong. Make no mistake. I did not do anything wrong. Okay? I did not. You and I might have a disagreement on it, but I have a fucking vision for it. Oh my God. All right. I'm just banning people now. We're banning BE and Bad Empanada mentions in the chat. Holy fuck. He accidentally said to Israel. I think, so here's the thing. No. Always a Netanyahu government, right? He did say Israel at the end. And I think the reason why, maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe this is copium. I think there is two wolves inside of Bernie as well on this issue. There's the young boy who thought Israel was a socialist project at the kibbutzim, okay? Who thinks that there is a vision for Israel that fucking never existed and will never exist. Both of the wolves are gay, by the way. Okay? They're both gay and they're having sex. They're having gay sex with one another. They're kissing. The gay wolves inside of Bernie Sanders are making out with one another. But I think the reason why he does this kind of rhetoric is twofold. I don't know. I don't know exactly which side I lean on. It could either be out of trying to maintain a level of pragmatism, which I think is stupid and wrong for the record, or it's because October 7 broke his brain a little bit. Because I think Bernie Sanders, unironically, was way harder on Israel in the past, even though there have been moments where he's been entirely too defensive of Israel in ways that I would never expect from someone who has not been shy about promoting like radical socialist movements around the world, you know? But I think as a 83-year-old man, I think like October 7th scared him straight up. And I don't think it's appropriate. I understand why, but this is like his rhetoric post October 7 is far different than the smoke that he had for Israel across the board as a prominent Jewish American politician on the fucking main stage running for president. Like, until Bernie Sanders, the only people that had ever even suggested or lightly hinted at removing our intractable allegiance to Israel were fucking anti-Semites on the right. Okay? I had not seen, like, with the exception of like Gravel and other like foreign policy, somewhat like crank adjacent politicians, there's rarely ever been like a prominent leader in the Democratic Party, especially in contemporary American politics in the last 30, 40 fucking years, especially after 9/11 even, where, no, Nina Turner doesn't count, dude. I'm talking about a dude who almost became the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. Okay. I love Nina Turner, but this is not comparable. Okay. We're talking about a dude who was fucking running to be the candidate for the Democratic Party. And he was running on the issues when it came to foreign policy. He was running on, we're going to fucking deny funds to Israel. Like, that's insane. That's precisely the reason why I was so disappointed with Bernie Sanders in the aftermath of October 7, where he allowed himself to be outflanked by the likes of AOC and, of course, understandably by Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. But even AOC called it a genocide before Bernie ever did. And I'm not even sure if he has ever called it a genocide. But the reality of the matter is, that even with my expectations, for the record, even with my expectations from Bernie, which is much higher than like the average American politician, you know, because he's supposed to be the guy that gets it. Okay. He has certainly fallen short of what is necessary from someone of his position. Yeah, Bernie Sanders' latest criticism of Israel signals an actual debate coming in 2020. Speaking at the annual J Street conference, Senator Bernie Sanders once again condemned recent Israeli attacks on nonviolent protests. But again, I think he is a J Street liberal Zionist. That's what Bernie Sanders is. I think that's what the situation is. That's what I think. This is the one issue with Bernie Sanders where I think that him and I do not, like, I can't even understand where he's coming from. Is J Street a two-state organization? Yes. J Street is interesting because a lot of the anti-Zionists that you know and love initially came from J Street. It's like the one step before. It's like Austin coming out as bisexual first and then dipping his toes into homosexuality full blown. A lot of Jews that are very progressive and very progressive on Palestine will start off at J Street like Simone Zimmerman and like Noah Culwin, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, I just maybe two-state, and then they will usually be like, okay, I'm anti-Zionist, this shit fucking sucks. You're just dipping your toes in the water a little bit. Now, obviously, no, please don't help buy erasure. No, I'm not doing buy erasure, but it's like, come on, can I make a joke? That's why I said Austin specifically who did that. Okay, calm down. You can fuck men and women. You're both bitchless and dickless, okay? Imagine being bisexual and not even being able to get laid by dick or pussy. Double L, okay? Sanders, speaking at the National Conference of Middle East Advocacy Group, J Street, Washington, D.C., called on the U.S. to adopt a more balanced policy towards Israel, Palestine, and condemn recent Israeli attacks on nonviolent protesters, called for an alleviation of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and even threw some harsh words for Arab autocrats who express concern for Palestinians but don't put their money where their mouth is. Sanders may be veering away from the establishment line, but he's still far from being an ally many Palestinians look for in U.S. policymakers. He opposes the boycott. Yeah, he opposes BDS. But you know who else used to oppose BDS? Norm Finkelstein. That's right. So just remember that. And you know who else also is kind of critical and maybe oppositional to BDS? Dr. Ofer Kassev. So just remember that, okay? That's why I don't discard allies for differences in opinion like that. Yeah. Yeah, bet you didn't know that. Those who've been at this game for a very long time, no. None of those are Palestinians. Yeah, you know why? Because we're talking about people in the United States of America. Okay? Yes, I know. We're talking about edge cases here. We're talking about American Jews in general, okay? I know. Every single person I brought up is either an Israeli Jewish person or an American Jew. And also, their points have changed as well. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, Norm did not oppose BDS because of the Zionism. He was very much about the tactics. No, I know. Why are you telling me this? I know. No, and it's not even that. It's because Norm is a two-stater, and I don't even know if he still is, but he was a two-state solutioner, and he thought that he did the... I feel like it's shameful to bring this up when talking about Norm, especially because there's so many people who now are the most radical on Palestine because they learned about it since October 7, and now they're going to go fucking yell at him or some shit. But this is a long fucking story. I don't want to get into it, okay? Don't worry about it.
Well, Israel wants a two-state solution, but, well, it used to. It used to, now it doesn't. But it was never along the terms on what the international community had agreed on. The terms were very straightforward, not complicated at all. You can read those terms in the International Court of Justice advisory opinion.
Is he still? I don't even know if he's still a two-stater, but but ultimately it doesn't matter. And the same reason for Ofer Kasif. Like there is some level of I think fear that people have, you know? It is what it is. I mean, I think Norm's opposition to BDS was that it was too antagonistic, which ironically enough, I used to believe in a two-state solution, but I was always a firm, committed supporter of boycott, divestments, and sanctions. People change. People's attitudes change. People's reflection and people's understanding of situations change. Now, of course, when you're 83 fucking years old like Bernie is, it's a lot more difficult. Okay? I'm not telling you all this because I'm saying Bernie Sanders is like an unconditional ally. But anyway, because I think BDS is important. Chomsky reviews because BDS is ineffective to Israel and pressure needs to be put on the U.S. No, BDS is to put pressure on companies that are American companies for the most part that are operating in Israel. It is to try and create a pressure valve in the same fucking way that apartheid South Africa did. I don't want to have this argument over and over again. Okay, guys, please just let's continue. Fear, aka Islamophobia, a little bit for sure. Norm also talked about his perspective on the usefulness of peaceful protests by Palestinians changed after the March of Return. Yeah. Ofer Kasif's position comes from the CPI line, which is two-state, which comes mostly from the Palestinian comrades in the party. He also explains through Leninism why it's the correct approach. Attended a talk where he explained this. Yeah, Adidas was taken off the BDS. No, not Adidas. Puma was taken off the BDS list because they stopped sponsoring the Israeli soccer team. And I think BDS has been successful. Anyway, let's continue. Bernie, including the expansion of settlements, Sanders has also consistently voted in favor of U.S. military aid to Israel. This is obviously a fucking massive point of contention that I think is incredibly valid from everyone that criticizes this. The U.S. gives billions of dollars in military aid to Israel every year and generally shields the country from accountability at the UN. But in a political system where mainstream politicians of both major parties usually shy away from any vocal criticism of Israeli human rights abuses, the fact that a leading presidential contender and a member of the Senate Democratic leadership is willing to do so is noteworthy and a sign that the debate in the U.S. is shifting. To oppose the reactionary policies of Benjamin Netanyahu does not make us anti-Israel, Sanders said. So this right here is his position. He is a liberal Zionist who believes that Benjamin Netanyahu is bad, who believes that Israel is a right-wing country, mind you. Like, I don't think he doesn't think that Israel is not like an incredibly right-wing country, but it's idealistic to assume that it would be anything other than that, because if you don't re-examine the inception of a violent settler colonial enterprise and the continuation of an apartheid on some terms that are going to make you feel bad, you're always going to be idealistic. This inherently is anti-materialist, which is another reason why I find it strange when Bernie Sanders, a person who is supposed to be a socialist, doesn't recognize it on those terms. This is the same principle behind my criticisms of like the 2018 era protests that took place in Israel, where they were talking about the constitutional overturn and how frustrated people were, how frustrated liberal Zionists were inside of Israel about how, Israeli society was becoming more right-wing. They were flying the Israeli flags at those protests, going, this is not us, this is not representative of us. And it was interesting because it absolutely was. It absolutely was representative. If you don't examine that inherent contradiction, if you don't actually reassess how much of a role settler colonialism and the maintenance of an apartheid plays in the development and the continuation of your society, then you'll never understand why the Itamar Ben-Gvirs and the fucking Bezalel Smotriches are rising to power. That's it. That's it. That's the problem. It is because of that inherently right-wing, inherently reactionary, and racist value that is at the heart of the inception of the Israeli state, and a lack of interest in re-examining that from many Israeli Jews. That is the reason why Israel has become even more right-wing over time and even more reactionary over time. It's that simple. This is one of the main reasons why I'm always skeptical of those who say Israeli society is on the brink of collapse and tearing itself apart. Israeli institutions from top to bottom are collectively committed to the mission of ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians. After a full year, the petition submitted on March 2024, Israel's Supreme Court rejects appeal to allow humanitarian aid to Gaza, claiming inter alia that the IDF and the respondents went above and beyond to enable the provision of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. This devotion to Palestinian erasure is explicitly baked into Israeli law and national narratives, and is necessarily a precondition of Zionism as a Jewish ethnocracy in its current location. It is the glue that will always hold Israeli society together. Yeah. So no, I don't think it's more so that Bernie Sanders at times have been incredibly critical of Israel being a right-wing institution, a right-wing enterprise, a right-wing nation, is at odds with his liberal Zionist position, because Bernie Sanders, much like many liberal Zionist Jews in Israel, refuses to recognize the inherent flaw in the development of the nation state. The fundamentals of Zionism implies Jewish ethno-religious supremacy. That's what it is. So saying you're a liberal Zionist is like saying you're a liberal Nazi. The Nazi in that situation, because they're both fascist ethno-supremacist ideologies that engage in expansionist agendas and erasure of the lower class, the lower ethnic class. ultimately, if you can't recognize that, then you will always fall short of what's necessary to resolve the inherent contradiction, fall short of what is necessary to abolish the occupation and to destroy the apartheid. Okay? I think that's what it is. That's at the heart of the problem. Why didn't you say this to him? Because I had 9 minutes, brother. If you think that this was going to be an impactful moment right before he goes up on a rally, for me to be able to have a theoretical conversation with someone who I admire, by the way, still, regardless of this position, okay, you are a delusional person. This is why, if I were to have this conversation with Rashida Tlaib, it would be very different than having this conversation with Bernie Sanders. Because Bernie Sanders, in the space that he occupies and the beliefs that he holds close to his heart, still have an interest in defending the First Amendment. That's precisely the reason why, if you watch the interview that I had with him closely, you will hear me broach the subject of Israel, not on defending Palestinian lives or the morality of Israel being a Jewish ethno-state built around Jewish ethno-supremacist values, but instead on the boundaries of defending the First Amendment in the United States of America and allowing people to criticize Israel. Many of those people who are protesting against Israel are Bernie Sanders supporters themselves. You're a shallow dope of a man that you used to be. I know. The calculation here is simple. Are you better off with no one with a position of prominence in American politics advocating for similar values and in moments of defense advocating for the freedom to protest against Israel? Or are you better off with those people actually actively mobilizing the massive amounts of people that they've been able to capture the attention of against the current administration, who is taking significant action against the First Amendment and due process? That's the question. If you think personally that you got a different method and you got a different vision for instilling class consciousness among the American working class, if you think that you have a different approach, I'll hear you out. But my naysayers have yet to bring up a different approach. As a matter of fact, they have no approach. Their only approach is coming in here and typing up a storm against me. Someone that they don't even fucking disagree with on both my examination of Bernie Sanders' liberal Zionism or even like what must be done. So that's it. If all you have is moral grandstanding against a fucking Twitch streamer, then you got nothing. If the environment in American politics had moved in a direction where there was mass mobilization and politicians were actively, like most politicians that moved towards the liberal Zionist position, then I would be advocating for politicians like Bernie Sanders, who are at the edge of that, at the cutting edge of that, to move beyond the liberal Zionist position. I'd be demanding more. But right now, the 99% of Congress is ultra-Zionist. And if 99% of Congress is ultra-Zionist, I'm not going to yell at a couple of the politicians that have, like, even on the optics front, put their names out there to say we got to stop giving weapons to Israel. It's that simple.